Uh, uh, Again, okay, there we are. I are we live? Is this working? I guess I don't know, man. It's so long. Anyway, what's a what's a crazy existence? I guess I don't know, man. It's been already 2 weeks, no more vacations. I guess tomorrow life continues. I guess I don't know. Uh, it's a crazy thing. I I wasn't really expecting to experience that much, I guess, but it's fine. Here we are. So that's very nice, I guess. What a crazy thing. I don't know, man. It's, if nothing else, it's entertaining to see everything happen. I guess that's a good way to say it. That everything moves. I wouldn't say forward, but in different directions, basically. And we can pretty much see how open everything is. It's very much nice. I think I don't know. I think that it's quite a funny experience to be out there, to do stuff. I guess to live, to exist. This basic proposition, to be or not to be. Yeah, I think being is quite good. I remember I remember when thinking about it. It's this whole idea about being and not being and what's not, that people like what's uh, Shakespeare wrote about, and similar. All of those stories that try to mention in any way stuff like, okay, yeah, besides other themes of their works, things around the concept of perhaps being could be interesting, perhaps being could be a useful thing in a certain way. Perhaps being is not so much a necessity, but at least the option that can lead to the most results that do not just involve the self, let's say, and all of that stuff is quite good, I will say. I think it has been quite a wonderful time so far. I don't know. I try to someday not mention it at all. It's, I wouldn't say complicated, but it's something weird. You, the whole world is always so open to things, to events, to encounters, to everything else, and it feels quite nice to see that so many things could go in diverse directions, not particularly good ones, but that things can be, let's say, and that's, I think after that, the proposition itself of, oh yeah, yeah, is being worth it? I think so. I would say so, probably. Being is quite, if nothing else, it's quite wonderful. It's, you can have other adventures if you choose not to be, let's say, but I don't know, it's not as capable of having anything else. You can, I think I have at this point seen it enough times. There are many people that can just entertain themselves with the prospect of existing to not beat themselves, but rather to get entertained by what others who are not them do, let's say. And it becomes a great proposition in those instances to say stuff like, yeah, yeah, I I get to enjoy all of this outside experiences, stories, and whatnot. Not because they give me anything, but rather because they sort of allow me to not think about my present, I think, and that's nice, that's useful, that's for the sake of forgetting about who I am, that's useful. And yeah, that's an option. I don't think it is indeed the most useful option. There are many other things also open to us, and I don't know. I think it's just we do not have particularly a problem. I will describe it as what I will say more along the lines of what we do have is this conflict of interests and whatnot, and all of that requires a lot of energy. I think so, and I don't know. I think it's adulation is always a hard feeling, sensation, emotion, and this idea of yeah, we can feel good in being not exactly like that, not in terms of oh yeah, because I get to be compared to someone else. I get to sort of pat myself in the back or something along those lines. No, not particularly that, but more along the lines of, yeah, I think that being itself, the act of existing, doing stuff that we can say feels nice, feels fulfilling in any other manner that isn't just momentary, is not really an easy decision. I understand. Yeah, with enough time, I have seen it repeated through enough stories of different people, basically, that now I feel confident in saying something along the lines of, yeah, and choosing to be is hard, not because it is a hard action, but rather because you have to leave a lot of stuff behind to choose to be, I guess, and that's nice. I find it nice. I don't know. I have heard it probably many times that yeah, commitment and whatnot are complicated, but it doesn't sound like that much of a horrible prospect. I guess it's something good, or it's cool to be something good. So just because of that, it gets to gain that attribute of good thing in general. Just yeah, it's like a very basic idea. It's like a very basic sentence that doesn't really say much, but in reality, yeah, choosing to live is quite a nice thing actually, and I don't know, I don't see it enough times happening. I guess that's my whole story. I don't see it happening enough times. So yeah, here in places like this one when where I don't know at from a more personal perspective at least I can say I get to have all of that myself. I don't know, it's quite harsh to see that there are people play against themselves and decide to not advocate for their own interests or not. To some degree I understand that an interest through nowadays culture has become not truly a nice thing, but rather it acquired a new signification of yeah. You are being interested. You're only interested in gaining something. You only want interests from things. You only are striving towards these particular interests of yours or ours. Kinda. I mean, from one hand, I understand where is that idea coming from, but on the other one, not exactly. Being capable of realizing that there are some things that we honestly want, and being capable of moving towards those things in a, I guess, as always, it's like the implicit message in a healthy way. doing that in a healthy way. So, and I don't know. I think I don't know. I think it's a bad sentence to some degree to say. It's like yeah. You're getting too comfortable in the easiness that is life so far. But I will say, for example, it's not as an example. Life is quite amazing, I guess, and that's nice. That's quite wonderful. Also, late to I personally am not late. I'm on time. I don't know. I think I could start at like uh, I don't know what time is it there. Assume basically 1 hour before from now. You look at your clock right now. 1 hour from before that. I could start at those times. Also, I don't. I don't really need to. But anyways, welcome, Caspian. I hope you are well. I hope you are doing nice. I hope life is treating you correctly. Is correctly the proper expression? I don't think so. But yeah, welcome. I don't know. I I I said life is well, so I can repeat that. Thank you very much. Uh, what a crazy world. I don't know. I Many things happened. Making progress in interior design, very well, very well. I I don't know in which of the many ways. Career in your own home, in work, in in an idea, in the interior design of a place that you plan to build when you are like 50. I don't know, but good job. Hope it keeps progressing. Progress. You're redesigning your house. Wow. Ah, what a what a one liner. Incredible. I placement and such additions. Yeah. We have. I don't know. I could try to talk about that here. I don't really participate in that, so that's also why I don't really mention it. But we having a house and having to what is it? Maintain your house is quite a complicated task, and I wasn't expecting it. But at least having a house at all is nice. At least having a place in which you can rest and live the rest of your life is also good. But I don't know. It's it's something that you have to learn to like. I guess that's the issue. I don't think it is an issue, but it's something. And managing a house that way is good. It it gives you other tools, I guess. Also welcome. Salaryman, tired salaryman. See, uh, are you are you a homeowner or are you what is it? And what do they call them? They aren't inquilins. What's the other word? Somebody who pays the rent. I guess I don't know. Most salary people that I know live in like apartments and rented places. So I guess that's the average. Is that the average? Is that good at all? I don't know, man. It feels. I don't know. I to some degree, that's why it's complicated for me to talk about. Oh yeah. You need to do things that feel nice. There are other people that can only. I don't know. I don't think the proper way to say it is, yeah, I believe that I can do it this way. And even if it is going to be painful, I can ensure having a paycheck at the end of the month. It's a little bit more complicated. I might not really have anything else that I can properly do. And even if this is horrible, I can obtain legally money through this one method. So I have to, I don't know, do paperwork for 25, no, 35 years in a row. Then get to retire with a very low payment. But at least I get to have an earning. At least it's something insured to some degree, but I don't know. It's yeah, that's what I kinda struggle with personally. I see people who are complaining about it to such a degree. I you can see them when you go out. Those people who are like, oh no, to go to work. I have to get back to work. I need to continue working on this thing. They are all the day angry at the preposition of having to go back to work. It's so crazy, I guess, but I don't know. You have your life quote unquote solved, so that's something at least. But I don't know, man. Sometimes, most of the times, actually, people don't really get to do what they like directly. You only get to satisfy your hobbies in a more un, indirect manner, I guess. I don't know, something like that. And it's understandable. It's not like it doesn't make any sense, but it's just harsh, I guess. We, from a personal perspective, I have read so much stuff at this point that I feel, wow, yeah, it's such a quote unquote common knowledge that we should try to aim for things that satisfy us more. Is it? Nobody truly seems to care about that. I mean, we like to have quite a lot of horrible stuff happen to us. I think to some degree it's even more depressing when you take into consideration. Yeah, we could have better services of any kind, even, and what we just need to do is some tiny uprising. Oh, wow, yeah, yeah. That's dangerous word. That we have to uprise, yeah. Suddenly, you have to protest about the stuff that you don't like. And if we do that, we get to have better things. But that doesn't happen. I rarely see that happening. And I don't know, it's still something that you can see most of the time only in these nuclear portions of things, so to speak. As in, oh yeah, you just see one guy becoming the very famous guy who. Ah, is this an allegory? No, I'm not saying to kill anyone. That was not my message, but it's just, I don't know, trying to live that life that we like to talk about so much that should be better. Trying to make it happen, I guess. Oh yeah, yeah. I have to. I don't know, man. I get to be basic proposition. I get to be. I can either be happy or be unhappy. Will I truly try to aim for my unhappiness if I know that it will in no way make me nothing better? I will not have a nicer existence because of that. I will not have a longer existence. I might not even get to do more things or derivate from that first degree of unhappiness any other kind of satisfaction. Will I truly try to just pursue happiness? Is that a choice that I am taking? I don't think I want to choose like that. Personally speaking, I don't think anybody wants to choose for themselves anything like that, but I don't know. I I can just keep seeing it from the other perspective. Yeah, it makes sense. Sadly, it makes sense. It's harder to stand up against what we have already grown accustomed to, I guess. You learn to. And it's similar to what I was trying to say before, for example, it's the hassle of having a house, having to upkeep your house to make sure that it survives, not only for you, but also for the generations to come, to try and make sure that things are going to be stable, that, I don't know, the family that you try to form will have enough things, and all of those other events to some degree involve a sort of uneasiness, discomfort, basically. And yeah, that is bad, but that one is justified. I don't know. I think it's not quite a hard formula. It's just, yeah, I have all of those things that I need to experience. But can't I change everything else that I don't actually need to experience in those particular ways? I don't know. I don't need to. It's it's also, yeah. Saying it is so easy. Saying it is so incredibly easy. You trying to deal with anything from a mental perspective, for example, trying to change the images that we have of ourselves in ways that will allow us to be a little bit better in any way is not such an easy task. It requires a lot of conflict, a lot of distrust, a lot of, I guess, heartbreaks, a lot of pain. It's not good, not it is something that most people will try to go for, but it is still something that can lead to better results. And committing to stuff is hard. I don't know. Ah, everything has a weight, and sometimes, I guess, at least from a personal perspective, yeah, I can say sometimes it's easier to just say that it is overwhelming rather than to confront life. I guess that whole idea of the inner kid and whatnot. Sometimes it's easier to to throw a tantrum of different types and say, no, 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 I cannot believe it. I cannot work. I cannot be in these places. I cannot read this thing. I cannot do this activity that I wanted to do so much. It's excuses are always found. They are not necessary, but we can find them if we try to look for them. The real question is, do we need them? Ah, do we actually need an excuse? I don't know. I think it's complicated, I guess. I can personally say I understand it. I think I have, at this point in life, gotten to know some people who are capable of being honest about this stuff in a way in which it made me feel like what they were saying was honest, yeah, but also that it might have been too self-centered, or not even self-centered, centered on different values. That whole discussion about values. I have my own values, and as an individual, at the best, I get to share most of them with my inner circle. But out of that, the more people I try to know out there, the more dangerous or statistically impossible it would be for me to find somebody who will have very similar beliefs to me. And it becomes hard to see somebody who is so capable of standing behind those beliefs. It's comprehension is not such an easy thing, I guess. I can say, yeah. It's it's understandable that I'm going to throw away my life for this one particular tradition that we have to upkeep. I can say it. Would I ever do it? Would I ever get to fully that idea of if you get to be the other person, will you do the same things as them? I can't feel that way in some cases. I don't get to have that privilege, I guess. But it's okay, I guess. It's even then, it's not like comprehension itself is impossible. It's just more complicated and it requires more interest from both sides. And sometimes it's quite easy, I guess, to just drop all interest. That's also something weird, I guess. I can I don't know. I haven't also yeah, it's another thing that I haven't think about. This whole idea of, for example, we get to say that in so to speak, in nowadays, in the contemporanean internet, contemporaneous, I don't know which, I know one of those two is wrong. I know which one. Uh, Fucking invent more words, English. Come on. Contemporaneous. Fucking. Anyway, sorry. Moving on. On the modern internet, what happens is you get to have very good excuses like, oh yeah, it's the possibility of connecting with so many people that also facilitates the the passing not passing fleeting connections with anyone because there is no actual need to find any proper bonding with any other human since it is always this constant subliminal promotion of how easy it is to find other human beings who might as well at least be capable of communicating with you and trying after that fact has been established to find out which things are shared between both parties so that you could later on call them in any kind of people who you get to know, people who you get to say that you like and whatnot. And I mean, from a general perspective, it's true, yeah. I get to have many people. It's this idea. I don't know. You can go, for example, into stuff like Facebook, I guess, and you can go completely crazy. Add probably 10,000 people in just probably a couple of hours if you have to do it manually. But you can add them, and you can after that go ahead and just start interacting. But that's a conscious action. I don't know. I If I have known people who do that, it is because they do so in a conscious manner. It's not like, oh my god, I cannot believe it. I slipped. I drifted away my attention for 1 second, and out of nowhere, this new social platform forced me to interact with other. No, everything is still, at least nowadays, conscious. Many of our actions are conscious actions, and I don't I don't think it's proper to say, oh yeah, no, I had to. I was forced by this overarching idea of an observer who led me to be this way or obliged me to do these things. No. I am not in that situation. I don't. I don't really know anyone who is in the grand scheme of things in that situation at best. We are just forced to interact with different people that we get to have the pleasure of interacting with as long as we share platforms. And if we don't, we will never get that opportunity. Yeah, that is true, but that doesn't mean that I am obliged to interact with only X type of people. At least the average person doesn't have to concern themselves with anything like that. Of, oh yeah, is it illegal to talk to this? Yeah, it is. Not assuming that I don't know, we are trying to find the extremists group once again. It's just this idea of you can go anywhere. Uh, Internet is quite open. You can explore many places, and all of that is a conscious action. And all of those conscious actions are things that I unavoidably chose myself. And that's the same thing that makes me also choose who I say that I talk to, who I say that I don't talk to, and it's a very conscious decision to care or not to care about someone else in that same sense. I don't know, it's not so overcomplicated, I guess. It's just the proposition of it's hard to establish or to have any proper any good. I don't remember exactly which statement I stated this one rant with, but it was something along those lines of yeah. Ah, sometimes I might choose to stop interacting with people, but once again, it is a choice. It's not something that gets forced upon me. All of that stuff is conscious still. It's it's a very open world, I guess, and we don't get to really grasp anything like that. I see. I guess that's where stuff like this comes in handy. Basically, that's fact about getting to talk about the stuff itself is good, not because you actually need to be talking about anything particular, in particular, but rather because, let's say, you can have a place in which you find yourself comfortable with the idea of sharing something. You can have that. Okay, what does that particular thing itself mean? Or what does it entail in general? That you also get to have the benefit of you can stop thinking about the stuff just from your own perspective. If you find people who you can trust, you can get that whole process of within the things that you want to do, within the things that you want to have and whatnot. You get to through multiple minds pass the same situations so that solutions that's getting much harder. What? Yeah. I mean, yeah. Kinda. I mean, I don't know, man. I have been trying to think about it from this idea of older generations and whatnot, but I don't know. I think the real gap exists within people like between the I think it's like 30s and 50s or so. I don't remember exactly that category. I think they are the baby boomers or something like that. No, baby boomers are like grandpas. Fuck. It's like the boomers themselves, I think. Uh, that's people who are not the third age, but who are like in the doors of getting there. That generation. Those are the ones who have it the hardest, but also it makes sense. The reality was all of those older people who came with the older traditions have to face nowadays the interconnectivity that they didn't get to grow up on. So they do not get to understand how to properly find more people. But somebody of my particular generation doesn't have that excuse available to them. At least we were taught how to find it in ways in which we can guarantee ourselves any other social connections. An issue is also, it doesn't mean that there is no information available out there on how to properly do it. I I have talked with I wouldn't say a lot, but yeah, it's I guess a common discussion among my different groups of humans that I know. I wouldn't just call them friends. It's derogatory to call everybody. Oh yeah, my closest friends. No, people that I know, but this whole idea of if I can go through the hustle, I can insert myself in different social groups. And that's something that can very easily happen with things like hobbies. I can just force myself into this one place because we share this one thing in common. And after that, everything else gets to slowly complicate itself because both of us are demonstrating any kind of interest. Let's say I I I get I don't know. For example, I don't think it will be an illogical example. We get to share the idea that somebody like me exists, and what we get as a starting ground is okay. Vtuber, that idea of virtual persona of somebody instead of the person itself. Already, that is a good enough tag. After that, everything else sort of comes around. Unavoidably, there are other ideas that are still chained to that without the input of any of us, but also there are other personal things. Okay, how will I choose to interact with this person? What are they particularly presenting about who they are? What is their interest personally? Are they talking about philosophy? Are they talking about games? Are they talking about music? Are they talking about these things? Do they even talk? Which language do they speak? In which language of the many that they might speak are they choosing to place themselves in? All of those things, all of those other things are pieces of the puzzle that can allow for connections to happen. If we are capable of using them or not is a different matter. But I I don't know. It's a complicated idea. You have to be honest to some degree to say I want to have real friends. I want to properly have people who I can call dear friends. How will I try to get them? If you don't get to ask yourself something like that, it's going to be a lot more complicated, yes. You don't get to develop friendships with people for the sake of it. It it is something that happens naturally due to everything else. But it is not something that everyone gets to have just because it happens throughout or it could happen throughout everyone's life. It's I don't think it's to some degree hard to say in that way. It's just yeah, I it's hard. It's indeed hard, but there are also other methods still available. I don't know. This whole idea, for example, at least from a personal perspective, once again, I can say, yeah, I don't fucking want to socialize with people who I have never met and tell them, wow, do you want to play some football, dear friends? We literally don't know each other when I go and play some football so that we get to mm, know ourselves a little bit more. I can I do that most of personally, for example, no, I don't. I wouldn't really do something like that. I'm not somebody who ha thinks that it is interesting or wants to do something like that. So I would not. That wouldn't be my approach. Probably, if someone else said that, I would probably reject it. I guess. But the idea is still is. Can I be honest enough to the edit which? Okay, I need a social connection. At least I have this easy card here of I invite somebody to play something with me. Will they accept or not? And after that, everything else is sort of easy. I don't know. On the other hand, still, I understand that is indeed getting even more complicated. The other perspective of virtuality and yeah, virtuality and what's not of how to some degree, for example, nowadays you can commodify things like friendship with other tools. Like, I think I don't think it is that popular, but that's just because I am not in that circle. Maybe it is. Things like eBuddy or ePal have become a lot more popular, and yeah, it is a possibility with which you can simulate a friendship, even a more quote unquote personal friendship, as long as you can afford it. But I don't know, and that's too much of an issue that we cannot even properly mention. The moment in which you conceive money as such a distinctive quality of your own time or something like that, in which you signify money as such a precious thing in everybody's life, other things lose balance sadly, and it makes a lot more sense why we end up with the stuff like, oh yeah, you know what? I will not worry about having friends. I will just save up a little bit, and after that will get to enjoy my evening with my people playing some league. That's something that can happen, but it doesn't need to be that way. It Things can happen. Something funny is the world allows for a lot of things to happen. I don't know. You can see it from the more religious perspective. God allows everything to be. What gets to be is what the human chooses. And that's the general principle, no matter what you're trying to say, or from which perspective you want to take it from. I, I, I can get tired of fucking never getting to have a proper friendship. And okay, I might be, I don't know, I probably have read 500 books. Do I get to have a proper social relation with anyone? No. It's time at my when I am 30 years old to go out there and fucking socialize and go through the whole stepping stones of how to socialize once again and ridiculize myself unavoidably, but I can do it. It's not something that I am privated from, and I don't know. I to some degree, I understand the stuff about the self-image and whatnot. About how I might not be that attractive, or I might not be that average looking. I might be too much of a weirdo. I cannot really, for example, socialize in person. I mean, I can also stop caring so much about all of that stuff. I want to have a good time, supposedly. Why am I going to inflict upon myself so much pain by thinking on things of that sort? I don't know, I might even be average looking and somebody might get still incredibly angry at me because they don't like my fucking name. If it is because of things that could happen, we're in an incredibly huge problem, but that's not what matters. What matters is what gets to happen. And that's literally just one thing always. The reality that we had to live after anything happened. Or anything that we even chose happened. It's not so complicated. I don't know, man. It's just that's what I was trying to say basically. From a personal perspective, it sounds hard, but at the same time, I can also see that I am making up excuses personally. I don't know. Maybe I might be lacking. I should assume that I'm lacking something else. I guess, yeah, the big white elephant in the room that remains unmentioned are things like trauma. That shit can easily make anybody not want to socialize anymore. That's the easiest way of talking about why I don't want to socialize. For example, can anyone expose themselves in that way so easily? No. Is that something acceptable? No. So yeah, that's the other thing that remains unmentioned in this whole discussion, I guess, of why socializing is hard. Yeah, I might have memories of things that happened with other people when I am talking with someone else who I want to meet, and I can't even control that. I can at the best control how I react to that, but I cannot avoid having flashbacks, suffering from those moments in which I am reminded of bad memories, instances in which what one person said as a very inane joke impacted me. It, stuff of that sort can happen. And it happens on, I don't know, most people probably. I think yeah, it's also complicated. We don't really talk out in a more general sense. We don't really talk out trauma in a more acceptable manner. We have it as the worst thing that the average person could end up having trauma. But on the other hand, what I mentioned, for example, having memories of other people when you're talking with someone new is unavoidable. At some point in life, you're going to just meet too many humans, and even if you don't want that to happen, I don't know. Uh, very easy explanations. I had a mom. The moment in which I meet another woman, if that is what I like, and I ended up falling onto that whole Oedipus complex, I will unavoidably think about my mother while I am observing this new person who might have nothing to do with my mother actually. But I we cannot properly talk about that in general. It's hard to do that. Not really impossible, but it's hard to accept that. Yeah, sometimes we are not really we are not really surrounded by people. We are surrounded by the fragments of memories that we get to see on those who we allow to be around us, because we cannot even let go of some other people. It's so I guess that's the issue. It's something crazy, but we are not really ready to talk about any of those things in the general sense. I guess I assume I don't know. Okay, the weather is so wonderful sometimes. Anyway, I I think I have said like enough on that hand, from that side. So moving on to something different. Ah, I, as I said, probably before I lost my fucking mind and I went on a 5 seconds rant out something else. Um, uh, love you too, Gracia. Thank you. But this idea of, I think it's quite funny to see that time can pass so rapidly. It it has already been 2 weeks. I had 2 weeks free and we had been here. Those I don't think, yeah, not those 2 weeks entirely. Yeah, I remember something. I don't want to say it. I think I should say it. I have been thinking about it. I have been having an internal struggle, trying to understand how honesty is properly honesty, and it doesn't just become overwhelming sincerity. That's this whole idea of the ways in which we try to bond with people, so to speak, and how sometimes we might believe that we are being honest when what we are doing in reality it's just overwhelming others with things that might be too heavy. I don't know, like I don't need to tell the cashier when I go to the supermarket, yeah, you know what? I will die of cancer in 5 months. Thank you for your service. I don't need to give them that wage. It's quite bad to do stuff of that sort, actually. But at the same time, I can internally see it as I don't know. From a personal perspective, I always felt like there is this huge wave of regret when you see somebody who should have at least tried in any way to tell you things. Let's say, I don't know. The best example that I can come up with, for example, is I wish I I haven't I think I haven't had the experience of seeing anybody from my inner social circle uh, suicide. So I didn't have to see particularly that part of yeah. I wish at least they told me that they were struggling, but it's that side of things that also has some weight in. I want to mention this stuff. It's sincerity at least alleviates me in that sense, and I don't know. Explanations on a more personal level are always complicated. I guess being honest about the things that we get to go through, and the things that we are feeling. I guess it's hard. Not Yeah, I don't say impossible. I try to not say impossible nowadays as much, but it's it's quite a complex task to properly some days be capable of recognizing things. I guess I it's not even that there are no proper words to explain things. It's just that some days, yeah, at least I can say it in this manner. Some explanations are just too heavy in general. I One of the main feelings that I have had, for example, throughout this whole experience has been, uh, I don't know, I know stuff. I don't need to directly mention things in a way in which it will be a burden to anyone. I don't need to, I don't know, just come here and dump the precise explanation behind those quote unquote hard hitting truths of different philosophers, different religions, whatever. I understand them. I don't need to say them. If I need to say anything, I should at the very least have enough patience to say it properly so that anybody who's willing to pay attention to that can get the idea. Not just the, I don't know, oh yeah, we are all going to die. No, I find it in that side of I haven't I have been seeing it more and more as a proper word. The inner drama. It's such a nice thing some days. How dramatic we like to be about this stuff. Oh yeah. I cannot believe it. I cannot. I can tell you. I can tell you something deep about me. Do I need to do that? Do we need to hear that? No, not really. Does that change anything particularly? Not really. I can do it out of a more boastful interest, out of a more selfish desire. I have the necessity to do that. No. But I can satisfy my ego. That's whole idea of I can give myself a tiny reward in that side. I need it. No, I will be better because I gave that to me. No, but when it's being in other areas of life, being is not such an issue, but in others, it is still, I guess. what it has always been. I think that it is in itself not so well understood, so that the actions that are taken in order to realize this particular idea can be properly taken. So yeah, I don't know. Being being is good, but it takes time. Thank you. Also, I don't know. I think if I have anything to say, also is you have been here 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, we didn't really talk about anything. It was so crazy. No, not that we didn't particularly say anything good. No, no. But I guess sometimes we can do so much with the time that we have, and it's hard to properly commit ourselves to that. I guess I I think there, besides the sense of regret, the realization of yeah, uh, I honestly, I didn't give it my 100%. I honestly could have done more. No, not from a sense of oh my fucking god, we could have won. No, it's just what's stopping you, brother? What's the reason that you have not to do the things that you say that you like? Which one are you going to choose today? What ace do you have up your sleeve? Or what card? But I don't know. It's always an interesting idea. I guess not. I find it good. Personally, I find it as something good to not get satisfied with. Oh yeah, yeah. We could just stay here and we could just talk out the same two things over and over and over and over and nothing else, and that's it. It's a possibility, yeah, indeed. It is a necessity? No, not actually. It would be better to do something that we need more, the most, than to do something that will just give us a sense of accomplishment. Not even accomplishment, I guess. Pleasure, fleeting pleasure, I guess. And I don't know, it's hard, I guess. Life in general is hard. I guess something funny that has come back finally has been this idea of yeah, yeah. It's quite wonderful to see that we can keep ourselves alive. I think that sometimes people are blessed with that whole side of not understanding how hard it is to choose to stay alive. Not because it is actually a hard choice once you have things that you want, but I don't know. I what I tried to mention the other day, you will think that things like what I mentioned before, suicide, would be more common. Being honest, I would have thought that a lot more of the people that I got to meet throughout life would have not remained alive. Not from a sense of oh yeah, yeah, I wish they fucking do it. No. It's just I think I have met a handful of people who this idea of the real world is going to break you. I was pretty sure that was going to happen, not from a negative side, but from just from a realistic one of holy shit, brother. What a you are truly going to go out there being like that? It's going to be hard. Nobody is going to actually stop you, I think. But it's going to be hard to say the least. And I don't know, I get to once again say I haven't seen that many people who has taken that route. That's quite an accomplishment. That's not one of the problems that we have nowadays. But yeah, from brainwashing and despair, I talked upon it. Yeah, I don't know. I think unavoidably it takes, I would say, the right circumstances to make it happen more than anything else. I guess. I think a good expression is this one of all it takes is just one day for even the best, or one bad day for even the best of the men to decide to kill themselves, something like that. I I think it can happen more naturally, but also I don't know. It's tracing it, trying to connect it with something else. Also, give me a second. This whole idea of the societies of tiredness, consumption, depression, all of those multiple similar apparatuses to conceive the world, they also have a lot of influence in what truly makes somebody kill themselves. I think yeah, certainly what I do know is a lot of people who I think live completely horrible lives. Not from a sense of, wow, yeah, I wouldn't personally like to have to go through the same thing. No, it's, you can see it on their face. They look fucking dead. They just, I don't know, continue because of their sense of responsibility, or their need to at least not be them who decided to give up on everything else that we have going. That whole idea of some families that get to keep pushing forward because one of the many participants in it tries to maintain everyone else connected. That whole idea is quite an observable thing in general out there. And I don't know, I don't think it's something so rare. That's the sad reality. Yeah, I wasn't really considering that. I do know a lot of people that probably, if they were given, I don't know, this whole fantastic proposition of fantastic as in the sense of fantasy, um, you right now, if you want, you can end it right now, and you don't have to go through the pain. A lot of people will say yes. A lot of those same people that I know will say yes, sadly. And that's where I also understand that, yes, sadly, even if we don't have that much of a high degree of actual worse outcomes like suicides, there are still people going through diverse types of depression, sadness, illness. So that's also, yeah, the the sad part out that I don't know. That's sadly that's the most common topic here. Trying to be happy, while on the other hand, understanding that, yeah, most of the time we end up choosing stuff that makes us suffer because of different reasons. But I don't know. Is it that bad to be aware about it? I don't. I can unavoidably understand. For example, from a personal perspective, let me say it like this. One of the many ideas that I remember hearing about that I personally felt like I didn't precisely need to know about it didn't make my day better to know it. Uh, how elder people end up being more isolated from the rest of their families nowadays because the younger generations, since there is what we should talk about, these ways in which the older people are not at all connected. Those who do not get to socialize between or amongst other older people get to be completely isolated. And it is slowly becoming a common issue to see how we are now starting to have problems about older people not just living in, dying from loneliness, from abandonment of different types. It's not something that makes you happy. It's not something that gives you I don't know exactly a reason to keep it going, to keep it living. Yeah. But it's also not something either fake. You can understand the things, and that allows everything else to feel a little bit more congruent with everything else, I guess. At least with that, you get to understand other things. You get to see what might be of yourself. You get to think out the decisions that you take, the way in which you decided to treat your significant elders, the way in which you see the persons who are close to you do the same, the way in which you might even try to warn them to not fail for these issues. Or I don't know if you're completely supportant of that ideology, I guess tell them to actually avoid them, I guess, I don't know. But yeah, it's in cases things themselves are not a priori that useful, but in the end, a posteriori, once you can make something out of them, they work. It's the same thing as, yeah, I don't know. I I can see we have a fucking lot of depressed people. Does that make things better? No, not actually. Another issue, another issue. Uh, mental health. Mental health is a completely abandoned institution. The way in which in societies we try to talk about mental health is still stigmatized. We have not been properly capable of getting rid of this stigma about how mental health, even more, the proper idea of a mental health institution as a physical place involves a lot of pain. We have come quite a great deal away from all of those older generations of events and whatnot. It doesn't actually need to be that way. And it's an issue that we have. It's a problem that somebody needs to try and fucking solve. But at least what I once again, what from a personal perspective that allows is to understand, yeah, unavoidably I will see people fucking struggling with that later on. If nobody tries to talk about that, I in my family I don't remember having that many discussions about mental health in general in any way. As much as we do now, before, because nobody had any fucking interest in that. Are they to blame? Am I really going to play that easy card? No, that's. I think the proper expression. Maybe I am wrong, but I'm pretty sure it will be pedantic. That's just trying to insult them for the sake of trying to insult them and nothing else. It's it's not their problem particularly. Yeah, it's a societal problem that we end up integrating ourselves within our ways of being. But at the same time, I cannot really blame myself for following literally what society tells me that is correct. I mean, We are social creatures. We're not individualistic creatures forced to socialize. No, it's, I guess, will it be a proper expression? Social creatures forced to individualize, even more in nowadays. Concept of the self and whatnot, I guess, yeah, but that's a different idea, I assume. Anyway, let me ring something. Anyway, very good. I think I there are so many things to say, but saying any of them feels so hard. I guess I don't know. It's that issue of sometimes you just don't actually feel like saying what you feel like saying. It's going to make give you anything better. I guess I don't know. It's probably related to an image of self, something along those lines. The way in which we conceive things. Yeah, the way in which we conceive, the way in which other things are going to happen, because we are who we are. That whole structure of trying to predict those patterns or trying to base off ourselves on older patterns to try and predict the future, and failing to realize that sometimes it is not the same type of, I guess, experience, condition. Nothing is the same, but it is still easier to just try to look it from the perspective. Change requires effort. Being the same every single day does not. That's already a given. If you are not going to be anything any day, that's already something. So you are accepting not being anything every single day. The moment in which you have to change yourself to be something different, that's when things get to go out of control, I guess. So yeah, I don't know. Chaos, is chaos good? Probably. Controlled chaos. Willful chaos? Probably not. That's also, yeah, that's also another idea that I haven't hearing, that I haven't trying to deal with lately. This whole idea of, yeah, we don't have to wait so much for stuff. You don't need to be so patient with some things. I mean, if it were for me, probably we could have spent literally my whole existence without talking about anything that is related to me. That's something funny. Language allows you to completely eliminate the proper personal self from the different sentences that you create, because it is not a necessary or intrinsic quality to language itself. The way in which you can express ideas is not rigged exactly by who you are, but rather by the things that you say, since language itself has become such a proper tool that for anyone who is willing to pay attention, ideas are just things contained inside words. So it doesn't matter who says them, but what matters is the ideas that are being said. In that same sense, you can eliminate from the equation that whole apparatus of, oh yeah, I am this, I do that, I like this, I want that, I have this, I offer that, blah 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 blah. You can eliminate all of that. Is it useful? No, not really. It's even more, I guess, insulting to do that. But to some degree, what I was trying to say, you can push, you can force it out of someone. Is it proper to do so? Sometimes not. Sometimes, yeah. This is. I already mentioned it anyway. So I talked about trauma. Okay, there are places in which you might re traumatize yourself with bad expositions to things that you shouldn't have been exposed to. In this case, yeah, you know what? It would be a great idea to say this. And now this open wound of the past gets yet again to be exposed. That palpitating wound gets to be seen, and not only is there a reaction, but rather an unexpected, unnecessary, unhelpful reaction. And after that, everything else is bad. So it's it's complicated, but at the same time, yeah, it's also acceptable that you cannot live. You can. You should not live a life where you have to constantly hide the thousand scars that you have just to try and fit anywhere. That's no proper way of living because the satisfaction that you derive from that mode of existence is so much lower that you might as well, yeah, that you might as well try to at least try and see if there are some other alternatives that will make it be a lot more bearable, not as an obligation, but rather as a whole procedure that you might even get to enjoy and want to keep going through, so to speak. That's part out life, I guess. But I don't know. Dealing with this stuff is complicated. Dealing with the problems that we have is what I already said before. It takes time, and sometimes we're not really willing to spend time. I don't know. I I can mention that, for example, yeah, I remember having thoughts about it. I don't exactly remember why when I was talking earlier today, but I remember, for example, one of the many experiences that I got to have was, I guess, from a more childish perspective, this whole idea about how things like medicine would in any way completely cure uh, any sort of mental illness completely without any other intervention neither. Reality is rather different. There is almost no medicine that gets to assist in mental illnesses of any sort in a permanent way. You will be needing a sort of continuous usage of substances that will slowly increase their threshold of efficiency so that you will not only have to consume it but also consume even more, even to the point to which it might be dangerous to your health. Things to try and stay balanced. Or you can either deal with the stuff. And yeah, dealing with stuff, I guess, is hard. Realizing that there is stuff to deal with to begin with is already hard, I guess. It's fine still. I wouldn't say it's something bad, but it's just funny to see that to some degree we don't really want or need or have interest in having any of those particular experiences ourselves. You grow to learn that it is better to just avoid anything like that. It's dealing with the issue when you can rather, yeah, from a game designer way, you don't have a hole that cannot be fixed. You have a hole that can be patched, patched, fixed, hot fixed, rapidly fixed, and that's it. And you don't have to worry about it anymore. No. Sadly, we don't get to live in that reality. If there are issues, the only proper way to deal with them is through the long process of understanding them and integrating them into what we are. But yeah, I don't know. Integration. with the rest of the world is a constant at this point, I guess. Is the primal part of being, the always existing part of being, trying to reach even higher levels of integration. But yeah, I don't know. It's such is reality, I guess. Do I have? I yeah. That's that's the issue. I don't know. Sometimes let me say it like this. I There are some days in which there are many things that could be said. The reality is also, is it a necessity to say them? No. It's a pleasure to say them, but also what I have slowly realized is we love to say stuff. I mean, anybody can say things. So it becomes quite a habit to think that what we are saying possesses any meaning outside of what those words just represent. And to some degree, it's not that much important. I have seen a lot of events, people, places, experiences which have zero importance besides the real important things within themselves, as in doing stuff and creating stuff. I guess we could have spent a lot of our hours here just saying things. But yeah, also this whole idea that I always try to mention, action is also necessary. Action is also useful. Is needed even. Can we properly use that to our favor, or are we just going to remain in this perspective of yeah, we can just stay here, so that's enough. It's hard, it's hard. I guess it's the constant struggle. It's to some degree. Let me say it like this: to some degree, deciding to not kill that inner Peter Pan, I guess. Of wow, yeah, tomorrow, tomorrow the world will be a better place just because today we worked hard enough to make it become better. But that whole weight is always there. Some days it feels quite, I wouldn't say meaningless, but not even atomic, I guess. Probably the lack of a proper word to indicate what it is more than anything else a sign of yeah. Just how stupid the conception itself is. But insubstantial? Is insubstantial the word? Significant? Meaningless, to begin with anything. Meaningless is not at all the proper term. But yeah, okay, let me say it like this. I don't think meaningless is the proper term. I don't think insignificant is the proper term. I don't think useless, pointless, nuclear, or atomically particular. Any of those words don't really mean that much in terms of the importance of the event. In reality, that's something wonderful. Now, about actions, some things that you can hear or that you can do or that you can say unavoidably uh, might have everlasting impacts on others, no matter how little time they take. I don't know. Particular example, that first word of encouragement for someone else that might want or need, that needs anyone else to be capable of demonstrating them that the world can support them, the first world that allows them to understand that the world is not against them, but rather is interested in supporting them. That first world is nothing. Is it meaningless? No. It's completely the wrong word to say that. It's completely incorrect to say that it is meaningless just because it is one tiny word, one tiny sentence of yeah, yeah, believe in yourself, you can do it. No. Benign? No, I don't think it is benign. Benign is also something that does no harm, I guess. I I see it as something that has no negative effect, but this insubstantial, trivial. I guess yeah. Personally, what I was trying to say before, probably it's just an internal filter trying to a rationalization. That's the proper word. Yeah, yeah. Whatever can be seen as small for oneself can always be incredibly wonderful for someone else. So that's why what I was trying to say. The excuse of I don't have that many things to say because blah blah blah. It doesn't really work. I don't know, and it's just I guess doubts, everything is doubts. The word itself is still a doubt, a living everlasting doubt, probably. So who knows? Ah man, I I feel like I should eat a candy. I don't want to eat a candy. I don't know. There are many things to say. One second. Let me repeat what I just said. There are many things to say. I okay. I can start with this. I remember I have been saying that I had been uh, the latest recurrent question. I am tired. Uh, by the way, today I am also tired. It was quite funny to keep on learning about that. Yeah, it's an issue. It's an issue that I need to fix. It's a problem of mine to be constantly tired. It's not like an unavoidable problem that just gets to exist and I will never be capable of solving. I at least I guess there is that hope of I get to know that I am not that sort of people who lives their whole life tired. That's sort of good. Comparison is the killer of joy, but at least it's good to know that I don't need to live my whole life being tired, I guess. But yeah, uh, problems that can get solutions. That's what's good. And yeah, like that, I guess there are many things. I just rec- not recognition, was possessing the will to recognize them is what's hard. It's there are many apparent problems with oneself, and many of those require just enough. What I always talk about honesty, proper honesty to finally accept them as issues. I don't know. It's it's complicated to talk about oneself in that way because we don't really like to be hard, even at all by anyone, by others, even less by ourselves. It's not an action that we take willingly for the sake of just damaging ourselves. Any kind of attack that might be inflicted upon a person by themselves is done so with a proper justification. And in that same case, we just lack enough rational arguments to see, let's say that, yeah, in some cases it is a necessity to try and deal with the stuff that we carry, I guess. I wouldn't say carry, I wouldn't keep it to just carry, but the things that we have, the things that we see, the things that we think, that the things that we have normalized probably, and all of that is still something fixable, at least. So more work to try and do in life. But yeah, it's, if nothing else, it's something. Also, just now I remember something that I should have tried to announce. Uh, After an hour and a half, I remember something that I should have said like in the beginning before I forgot. But I didn't even remember when I started. So yeah, I have an incredibly huge doubt. I will try to publish. I will try to talk with my university to try and see if we can publish the paper there. Also, I saw a fucking lot of issues with all of what I wrote. I that whole idea of you see, you absorb, then you comprehend the idea. That whole thing happened with what I wrote. Finally, after like 3 days, I got to understand what was still missing to make it more solid. The issue is, I am in no position to publish anything easily, so I will have to see how to go about that. I guess, if nothing else, I will have to do it through that method. I probably I don't really want to do it like that, but at the same time, it's most surely the only one that I will have the easiest time in. Everything else is quite complex, quite displeasing, let's say. I I have I guess the displeasure of seeing how papers in the scientific world in general work, and many of them are quite bad to try and talk about. Not in terms of try and talk about, try and point at. It's a very shady business more than anything else, unless you get to be very good at what you're doing, and that's not the case. Not at least for now. So yeah, I don't know. But yeah, that's something that I forgot to mention. I should have mentioned that earlier. I realized now. Sorry, sorry for that. I should have said it a while ago, but it doesn't matter. So let me drink something. I'm kind of running out of water. How? I know how. Because I'm drinking it. Wow. Such an explanation. Anyway, I I don't know. It's the night is young, life is short. How much of a fucking obsession we have with time, eh? How much how much of an obsession we to have with time? It's I don't know. Is it crazy? It's understandable, I think. If nothing else, it's funny to see how much we always want to try and get all of that stuff about time and whatnot. But who knows, man? It's something. It's, if nothing else, it's something, and That in itself is good, I guess. Like a background noise sound. Shut up. I mean it's yeah, yeah, yeah. But did you never go to a psychologist? They always have clocks ticking in the background. I think it's useful. It's there is a whole different set of explanations for why it is useful. It's something related to how you can sense yourself thinking when having this sort of rhythmic noise. Also, the whole associations of what a clock in itself means. But I was trying to talk about time in the more general sense of oh yeah, yeah. We need things to be fast or to last a long time. That's the crazy thing. That's what's so incredibly not outrageous. I don't think that's the proper word. What exhilarating about seeing how we get to live. That we care so much about how much time we spend on stuff and how much time we do not get to have about things. How much we wish to have done more, or how much we wish to have spent more wisely our time. I guess it's yeah, this whole idea about what I mentioned. Uh, I didn't even mention that. Now I realized. I mentioned today we had a very complete day. I mentioned trauma. I mentioned death. I didn't mention duels, mournings, and whatnot. Getting to properly mourn for the decisions that you made and letting them go is quite a complicated action. Getting to properly accept, and I did mention integrate stuff. Ah, I can meditate with my own heart's rhythm, so I tend to either rest in silence or with white pink noise. Yeah, yeah. That's supposedly that's the no, not supposedly that's the best method. But the reality is most people cannot really tune into themselves. That disconnection with oneself, lack of I wouldn't say it is particularly interoception or yeah that sense to be capable of sensing your own self. It's just the incapacity to understand that you need to sense yourself. The rational disconnection from the need to have this particular thing happening. That side, being completely altogether disconnected, is what makes us require things of this sort. Artificial noises like a clock beeping, a drum beating, whatever you want to use as an example, that isn't exactly the heart. What gets to happen when we get to pay attention to it, it's also that, yeah, we can learn to do it. That's why so many find it unnerving. Yeah, yeah, but basically that, yeah. You have if you are not really exposed either to silence or to just calm noise, it's quite an anxious inducing thing. And yeah, sadly, more people slowly have become more and more incapable of resisting that. But I don't know, it's good. It's good. It's a calming process, I guess. And also after you get to sit comfortable with it, you get to also understand how it works. Let's say, from a personal perspective, for example, what I can tell you is I have understood that one of the many ways in which I get to deal with that whole idea is I get to try and overwhelm the noise. I personally never allow the noise to be felt. I in a more general sense, you have people who set up things so that they can hear them or not. while the stream itself can. Okay, yeah, I like to hear what is being is making noise on the stream. So I also get to hear this. And personally, I do not want to hear it. So I keep on yapping. I guess that's the more general term or more modern term. Because I do not want to find it so much. But it is at least a way of dealing with that compared to no, yeah, to leave it. There is a clock in the background. Fucking garbage. I have to leave it right now. I feel so uncomfortable with that. And I don't know. I guess it's one of the many losses that we have had throughout time that suddenly people have become less and less capable of understanding how to hear themselves, I guess. What I tried to call the interception in a general sense, I guess. Because what I was trying to say with that is you don't even need to be a very particularly professional meditator to be capable of sensing your own heartbeat. If you understand how to rub your finger, your what's the name? Not point. I think you can also do it with your annular, but your index? No. Which one is it? Uh, the big finger. the English. I am ESL. Did you know that? ah, thumb. Your thumb? Thumb? Isn't thumb another name for finger? Hmm? I don't know. Anyways, the finger that allows humans to wrap things, I guess. That one. Um, if you wrap it properly, you can start feeling your heartbeat from there because it also pulses. Most of the time, we never get to feel that. We don't have to worry about feeling it, but yeah, if you wrap it properly, you can start feeling it. And from there, you already have a starting point. Most people aren't willing to go through that. There is no, in the modern world, there is no need for a lot of things, and one of them is to have such a connection with oneself. But I don't know, I can justify it. That stage, I can justify it a lot. I have seen in so many cases there have been such horrible efforts to make them look good. I have had the displeasure. I remember, I am pretty sure I talked about it before. I had to go to one, what is it, auditorium. I don't remember exactly what is it called. Like a conference, a set of conference talks, something like that. In one of them, one of the presentators tried to talk about the benefits of respiration and whatnot, and properly keeping yourself calm with the methods of breathing. And in the middle of that explanation, there was an introduction to a sort of direct way to calm yourself and to get to have a better connection with yourself. And while demonstrating it, that person was brave enough to fucking insert some form of self advertisement. It was so incredibly funny. That's such a fucking common thing. No wonder people don't give a fuck about meditating. Oh, yeah, we'll teach you this method of meditation that will allow you to sleep at night. Don't forget to get my audiobook if you want more. Fuck you, man. I thank you for sharing a little bit at least, but fuck you very intensely. I don't need that, brother. Ah, that happens so much with all of those disciplines in general. It's such a disappointment, I guess. But I don't know. Such is life. Also, before I forget again, another thing that I have to say, I will later on try to announce it to the Discord. I kind of forget that I have a Discord, but let me say it properly. Tomorrow, I have already said I started the stream with this. I am going back to school, to university, so tomorrow I have to go to school. Therefore, tomorrow there will be no fucking stream. And by the way, I have been trying to keep it in check. This idea of streaming at the very least 15 days throughout the month. Um, this month is looking quite complete. I should try to, I don't know, stream more. I guess that's the most basic thing to say. But yeah, be here a lot more. I don't know. I guess from a personal perspective, I can say it. I can say it rapidly. I should stop having a mental breakdown like every other day, I guess. Something like that would be wonderful. That's the reality. Yeah. I don't know. It's if it isn't directly something bad, it is the mental breakdown itself of getting the brain to fucking collapse under so much information that needs to be fit somewhere. I at the least I guess to pass, but it's so crazy to see that. For example, I end up studying like whole an entire day as much as I am awake to later on go to try and get a passing grade, not even a good, a passing grade on stuff. And I do it so frequently, it's crazy. On one hand, on the other, it's also unavoidable, but it's good. I guess it's not that worrisome. If nothing else, it's not that worrisome. So who knows? Who cares? It's just trying, I guess, trying to do better and being capable of recognizing that one can do better. Because, yeah, to some degree, there is no real point in trying to do something if you don't even believe that you can get that. It's quite a wonderful reality of you're not going to put yourself truly into the things that you say that you want to do, that you want to get, that you want to accomplish, if you don't believe that they will lead to anything else. So why lie to others? Why lie to yourself? But I don't know. I I remember something. I remember something. Yeah, yeah. Finally, I remember something. One of the many things I have been proud. Pride is a fucking horrible emotion. Do not be proud about existing. Pride is the contamination of the righteousness. Anyways, I found myself being quite prideful in uh, this when I think Wednesday or so. I finally started Summa Theologica. I was stuck at having to begin reading it, having to start reading it. I finally started it. I think it should take me like 100 hours. So I am like 1% done so far. But yeah, that's something to look forward to. I guess if nothing else, it has been quite a wonderful thing. Ah, have a wonderful night, Crispian. Thank you for everything, and good luck in your efforts. Know that people get to be happy because of you, and now try to do your best to ensure that you can also be made happy by them tomorrow. Go to rest. Go do your best. Yeah. Wow. But yeah, I don't know. It's as I was trying to say. It's quite crazy. I spent so much time trying to think about it. It's so funny to see how many excuses we can make up for things that we do not actually want to do. And I don't know. I can say so far I don't actually regret doing it. I think I have started to find it very enjoyable. It is a very understandable work. If nothing else, it is a very understandable work. An incredibly well understandable work. So I have to just keep on moving, processing all of that stuff. It's it's going to take a while, but we have to see how it goes. Yeah. After that, I think I will be not so far from every other philosopher that I also wanted to cover. If I can get through that, I can finally access modernity in terms of that time period that is called modernity, the one that comes after a post modernity, not the modern times, but modernity in philosophical works. Uh, although I don't even know if somebody like Nietzsche is modernity or post modernity, and also I know I have a lot of both of them already read to some degree. That's the funny thing. I tried to keep it structured, as in starting from the beginning and after that moving on to the present, but sadly I wasn't being really capable of doing that, I guess. So who knows how it will go? Who really knows? And why would it really matter? Great question. Very great question. Anyways, besides that, I haven't. Yeah, being honest. Besides that, I haven't tried to get ready for everything else. I guess life life becomes quite a lot easier once you learn to properly start to prepare for stuff before it gets to be any kind of not just issue event that you will unavoidably have to deal with. I guess the issue is properly recognizing the patterns in terms of things that will get to happen and things that will not get to happen, so that you can worry about things that you will gain anything from worrying about, or because you decided to worry about them, you get to win something. There are many others that you can believe are useful to worry about. They are indeed not. And the issue is knowing how to choose amongst those things and knowing how to take any kind of direction with all of that stuff. I personally feel like just with enough repetition of that same process, one gets to be good enough at doing all of that, and only then we get to enjoy everything else. So it's quite nice to some degree. It's quite an enjoyable task, I guess. But at the same time, it's also not really that much. It's just everything else in life is kinda in line. It's just the freedom of being is quite perplexing. You wouldn't expect to be capable of being capable yourself of doing so many things. I think one of the many traditions of or myths about growing up is how unincapable you are of choosing things. Not really, if you're not burdening yourself with 1,000 responsibilities that you will be incapable of disposing of later on, your life itself is not going to be all that unenjoyable. And the degree of variety that you can install into it is quite a large one, quite an enjoyable one, unavoidably also, but more than anything else, quite a large one. And that's nice enough already. That's, once again, if nothing else, a beginning, man. It's funny to see it like that, I guess. That, yeah, we can enjoy living and we can enjoy doing and we can go for things that we care about, I guess. Or try to have things to care about at all to begin with. If we don't even get to have that, so yeah, it has been quite a good adventure in in respects to all of that stuff. It just needs will, and sometimes it's easy. What I said before, it's easy to make it look like you don't have it. Every single day, the human wakes up with almost an infinite amount of will, but also every single day, the human wakes up with an almost infinite degree of excuses to not do the things that they might have the will to do if they decided to care about them. So it's quite a complicated task to also accept that indeed there are some things that we want to get again, do, have, obtain, possess. Who knows? Something. But yeah, all of that is at the least funny, I guess. Life is, if nothing else, quite a funny experience. It's quite open. I wouldn't have expected it to be so open. I think, but basing, yeah, once again, basing ourselves on what I mentioned before, you see so many people with different, diverse types of sadness on their hearts that you would expect them to not possess any kind of satisfaction about who they are, what they do, and similar things. But in the end, it's not an impossibility, it seems. It's not an completely unaccomplishable thing to be not just satisfied in terms of okay, this is everything that I will have. I will never aspire to anything else besides this. No, no, it's more along the lines of I get that I have this, and I can also say thanks for having this. If for nothing else, this is good. Compared to nothing, this is wonderful. What else might I be able to aspire to after having this one thing? That's the next question. But never to assume that everything that we have is this and nothing else to some degree. On the present, we unavoidably have all that we can have and nothing else, but in the future, that's where it becomes an issue to settle down and to stop having expectations about things in ways that make us feel happy or fulfilled. So Who really knows? But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it's quite a wonderful adventure. But yeah, next time, as I said before, next time, mm, Tuesday, we're going to be back here, probably just chatting once again. I will try to remember to bring updates about that one paper if it goes anywhere somehow, and if it doesn't, whatever happens, happens. But yeah, thanks, and until then, no, not, sorry, not until then. Even if we never get to see ourselves again, thanks for everything. It has been the most wonderful occasion. So yeah, remember, I guess it's such a heavy word, but yeah, the reality is love yourself. Be thankful for things. Be happy, be hydrated, rest, sleep, do do things. Do your chores and participate in your responsibilities. So thank you for the follow. But yeah, it has been quite a good one today. Have a very good one until not tomorrow, until 2 days in the future, implying that we survive. I mean, being quite honest, we might not get that blessing. I don't know. People takes alive for something too granted. It isn't really like that, brother. It might not be like that at all. I don't know. But yeah, anyway, take good night.